My name is Jessica, and I'm 32 years old. This is the story of how I lost my family over a single dinner and how silence became the most powerful thing I ever owned. Let me take you back to a Saturday evening in October, 3 weeks ago. The air was getting crisper in Sacramento, that perfect autumn weather where you can still wear a light cardigan and feel comfortable. The leaves were just starting to turn, those California golds and burnt oranges catching the last rays of sunlight. I remember driving down Elm Street toward my childhood home, windows cracked just enough to let in that smell of wood smoke and someone's backyard barbecue. My hands were steady on the wheel. My heart was light. I had no idea I was driving toward my own execution. See, Mom had called me for days earlier. Tuesday night, around 7. I was in my apartment, the small one-bedroom I'd been renting for the past 6 years in Midtown, folding laundry while some true crime podcast played in the background. When her name lit up my phone, I smiled. We talked maybe twice a week. Nothing heavy. Just checking in, Jessica honey, she'd said, her voice bright and warm like honey in tea. I'm planning a big family dinner this Saturday. Everyone's going to be there. Your aunts, your uncles, the cousins. I think we'll have about 30 people, maybe more. It's been so long since we all got together. That sounds amazing, Mom, I'd said, tucking the phone between my shoulder and ear as I paired socks. What can I bring? Should I make that apple crumble Aunt Teresa always loves? Oh, don't worry about bringing anything, sweetheart. Just bring yourself. That's all I need. Those words echo differently now. Just bring yourself. Like I was the main course. I should tell you about my family, so you understand the shape of what I lost. My father, Richard, is 61, a retired postal worker with thick gray hair. He still combs to the side every morning like he's heading to work. Methodical, quiet, the kind of man who measures his words, like he's rationing them for winter. My mother, Patricia, is 59, with soft hands that always smelled like hand lotion and determination. She worked as a receptionist at a dental office for 30 years, knew everyone's business, loved being at the center of family planning. And then there's my sister, Vanessa, 28, 4 years younger than me, with our mother's sharp cheekbones and our father's calculating eyes. Vanessa was the one who always knew how to tilt her head just right when talking to our parents, how to make her voice go soft and wounded when she wanted something. She'd married young 23 to a guy named Kyle who worked in real estate development. They had a house in Roseville with a 3-car garage and professional landscaping.me. I was the oldest, the one who left home at 18 for college, put myself through Sacramento State working 2 jobs, morning shifts at a coffee shop and evening shifts at the campus library. Got my degree in marketing. Worked my way up in a small advertising firm downtown. I wasn't rich, but I was stable, independent, proud of what I'd built with my own 2 hands. Maybe that was my first mistake. Being too independent, not needing them enough. The drive to my parents' house usually took me 25 minutes from my place. They lived in a modest ranch-style home in Arden Arcade, the kind of neighborhood where everyone knows everyone, where lawns are mowed every Sunday, where American flags still hang from porches. The house itself was nothing special: pale yellow siding, brown trim, a small front porch with 2 rocking chairs that my dad refinished himself. But it was home. For 32 years, it was home. I parked on the street because the driveway was already packed with cars. My Aunt Linda's silver Camry, Uncle Robert's pickup truck, Cousin Madison's bright red Nissan with the dent in the back fender. I counted at least 9 vehicles before I stopped counting. My stomach did a little flip of excitement. I loved big family gatherings, the noise, the laughter, kids running around, the smell of my mother's famous pot roast filling every room. I grabbed the bottle of wine I'd bought anyway, a nice Pinot Noir, $28 because I wanted to contribute something, and walked up the driveway. The front door was open, screen door closed, and I could hear the rumble of conversation inside, punctuated by bursts of laughter. I pulled open the screen door and stepped inside. "Hey everyone," I called out, smiling, expecting heads to turn, expecting hugs. The living room was packed. And I mean packed. People everywhere, on the couch, on folding chairs brought in from the garage, standing against the walls holding paper plates. I recognized faces immediately. Aunt Linda with her perm that hadn't changed since 1997. Uncle Robert, belly hanging over his belt, beer in hand. Cousin Madison and her husband Josh. Aunt Carol. Uncle Dennis. Their kids. More cousins. More spouses. It was like someone had shaken the family tree and everyone had fallen into this one room. But here's the thing that struck me immediately. The thing that made my smile falter just a fraction. Nobody looked at me. I mean, they saw me, their eyes definitely registered my presence, but it was like looking at a piece of furniture. Neutral. Blank. Then they turned back to their conversations like I'd never walked in at all. Mom? I called toward the kitchen where I could hear dishes clattering. I'm here. My mother appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a towel. She glanced at me just once, then looked away. Oh, Jessica, you can put your purse anywhere. No hug. No, I'm so glad you made it. Just that flat, distant tone you'd use with a neighbor dropping off mail. Something cold touched the base of my spine. I brought wine, I said, holding up the bottle, still trying to smile, trying to figure out what I'd missed. Set it on the counter, she said, and disappeared back into the kitchen. I stood there for a moment, bottle in hand, scanning the room. Vanessa was sitting on the love seat next to Kyle, laughing at something, and Carol was saying. My father was in his recliner, his throne, talking to Uncle Robert about something related to fishing. Everyone was engaged, animated, happy, everyone except me. I walked to the kitchen, set the wine down on the counter next to at least 6 other bottles. Clearly other people had brought things despite what Mom told me, and tried to catch her eye. Mom, is everything okay? She was stirring something on the stove, her back to me. Everything's fine, Jessica. You seem, I don't know, distant. She turned then, just slightly, and the look she gave me was so cold, so completely devoid of warmth, that I actually took a step back. I'm busy, she said. We have guests. We have guests. Like I wasn't family. Like I was something other. I went back to the living room, tried to join conversations. I sat down next to Cousin Madison, asked about her kids. She had twin boys who were 7 now. They're good, she said, barely glancing at me before turning to talk to her sister. I tried Uncle Robert. How's the fishing been? He grunted. Fine. That was it. One word. Then he angled his body away from me. I tried 4 more times. 4 different people. Same result. It was like I was invisible. Or worse, like I was there but didn't matter. Like I was a ghost haunting my own family reunion. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels. Dinner was called at 6:30. The dining room table was extended with 2 additional leaves, stretched nearly 12 feet long, covered in a tablecloth I remembered from every holiday growing up, cream-colored with little embroidered flowers. The table was loaded with food. Ham, turkey, mashed potatoes, green beans, my mother's famous macaroni and cheese, rolls, salad, sweet potato casserole. It was a feast. An absolute feast. People filed in, taking seats, laughing, passing dishes. I stood to the side, waiting for someone to tell me where to sit. Nobody did. Chairs filled up one by one. Vanessa sat near the head of the table, next to Dad. Mom bustled around, making sure everyone had what they needed. Kids were squeezed in on benches. Aunt Linda, Uncle Dennis, cousin after cousin, and then all the chairs were full. I counted 33 people sitting down, and not a single empty seat. I said, my voice coming out smaller than I intended. Where should I kitchen? My mother said, not looking at me. There's a folding chair by the pantry. My face burnt. Every single person at that table heard her. Every single person watched me walk into the kitchen, find the metal folding chair, and carry it back. The scrape of metal legs on the hardwood floor was deafening in the sudden silence. I set it up at the very end of the table, in the corner, half in the dining room, half in the hallway. From where I sat, I could barely see most people's faces. I was quite literally the afterthought. The appendix. The person they'd forgotten to plan for. Dad said grace. A long one. He thanked God for family, for togetherness, for the blessing of having everyone under one roof. His voice was strong, paternal, warm, except he never once mentioned my name. He thanked Vanessa specifically for being such a wonderful daughter and bringing light into our lives. He thanked Mom for her tireless work holding this family together. He didn't thank me for showing up, for being there, for existing. When the prayer ended, food started moving. Plates loaded up. Conversation erupted again. I sat in my corner trying to participate, trying to laugh at jokes I could barely hear, reaching for dishes that never quite made it to my end of the table. I ended up with a dinner roll and some green beans. That was it. For 10 minutes I sat there, watching my family eat and laugh and share stories. I tried to add something to the conversation, a comment about work, a funny story, but my words fell into the void. Nobody responded. Nobody even acknowledged I'd spoken. Then Vanessa stood up. She stood up slowly, deliberately, and the table went quiet. All eyes turned to her. She had this look on her face I'll never forget it, this mix of righteousness and cruelty. Like someone about to deliver a verdict they'd been savoring for weeks. "I have something to say," Vanessa announced. Her voice was clear, confident, loud enough to reach every corner of the room. My stomach dropped. She turned and looked directly at me. Everyone else followed her gaze. "Jessica," she said, my name dripping with contempt. "I think it's time we all address the elephant in the room." I couldn't speak, couldn't move. My hands gripped the edge of my folding chair. "For years," Vanessa continued, "you've been taking from this family, taking and never giving back. Mom and Dad sacrificed everything to raise you, to put you through college, to give you every opportunity, and what have you done with it? What have you given back?" My mouth opened, but no sound came out. My mother stood up then, and the look on her face was pure fury. She walked over to the wall where family photos hung, the same photos that had been there for decades. Baby pictures, school pictures, holiday photos. And she started ripping them down. My photos, only my photos. She tore them off the wall one by one, glass frames crashing to the floor, and threw them into the kitchen trash can with violent thrusts. "You leech!" she screamed, her face red, spit flying. "You've sucked this family dry. Everything we gave you, everything we sacrificed, and you just take. I stood up, my chair scraping backward. "Mom, what are you? Don't you dare call me Mom!" she shrieked. She grabbed another frame me at my high school graduation and threw it so hard into the trash the glass shattered. "You don't deserve to call me that. You've bled us dry and given nothing back." My father stood then, his face hard as stone. "She's right, Jessica." His voice was cold, measured, final. "Do you know how much we spent raising you? Feeding you? Clothing you? Paying for your school? Your sports? Your activities?" "Dad, I $247,000, he said, his voice rising. "That's what our financial advisor calculated. We kept every receipt, every bill, every expense. And what have you paid back? Nothing. Not a single cent. You're a waste. A complete and utter waste of our investment." The room was silent. 33 people watching. 33 witnesses to my destruction. "I didn't know you expected me to," I tried, my voice shaking. "Of course you didn't know," Vanessa cut in, her voice mocking. "You were too busy being selfish. Too busy living your little independent life downtown, pretending you're so successful, while Mom and Dad struggled, while they went into debt for you. I didn't ask them to. You didn't have to ask." My mother screamed. "We're your parents. We gave you life. And you owe us. You owe us everything." Uncle Robert stood up, his chair scraping. "I always thought Jessica was ungrateful," he said, shaking his head. "Never helped with family events. Never offered to pay for anything. Just showed up expecting to be fed." Aunt Linda nodded. "It's true. We've all noticed." One by one, they started piling on. Cousin Madison, Aunt Carol, Uncle Dennis. People I'd known my entire life. People I'd celebrated birthdays with, holidays with. People I thought loved me. They called me selfish, entitled, a burden, a disappointment. Vanessa walked over to me, her face inches from mine. "Get out," she hissed. "You don't belong here anymore." She put her hands on my shoulders and shoved me toward the door, hard. I stumbled, caught myself against the wall. The entire family was standing now, a wall of angry faces, all of them yelling variations of the same thing. "Get out! You don't belong here. Shame on you. Ungrateful." Worthless. My mother was crying now, but they weren't sad tears. They were angry tears. Bitter tears. I wish I'd never had you, she sobbed. You've ruined everything. Vanessa opened the front door, grabbed my arm, and physically pushed me outside onto the porch. Don't come back, she said. Then she slammed the door in my face. I stood there on that porch, the porch where I'd played as a child, where I'd sat and waited for the school bus, where I'd had my first kiss at 16, and I heard the lock click. Through the window, I could see them going back to dinner, sitting down, laughing, like nothing had happened, like I'd never existed. I wanted to scream, to cry, to pound on that door and demand answers, but something else happened instead. Something cold and clear settled over me like a sheet of ice. I turned around, walked to my car, got in, and drove away. I didn't cry, not one tear. I just drove. The next morning, Sunday, I woke up in my apartment at dawn. The light coming through my curtains was gray and soft. I lay in bed for a long time, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment from the night before, the humiliation, the betrayal, the cruelty, but also the calculation. Because here's what I realized, lying there in the gray morning light. That wasn't spontaneous. That was planned. Meticulously planned. My mother had invited 33 people specifically to witness my public destruction. She'd arranged it like a trial with judge, jury, and executioner. The question was, why? I got up, made coffee, and sat at my small kitchen table with my laptop, and I started digging. First, I called the bank where my parents had their accounts. I didn't have access, obviously, but I did some research. I looked up public records, property records, court records. What I found made my blood run cold. My parents had taken out a second mortgage on their house 3 years ago. $60,000. They'd taken out a line of credit. Another $45,000. Their cars were financed. Not paid off like I'd thought. They had credit card debt totaling somewhere around $30,000. My parents were drowning, financially drowning. But here's what didn't add up. Their lifestyle hadn't changed. Same house, same cars, same vacations every year to Lake Tahoe. So where did the money go? I called my friend Rachel, who worked for a property management company. Asked her to look up an address for me as a favor. The address in Roseville. Vanessa and Kyle's house. Oh wow, Rachel said over the phone. Okay, so this property sold 3 years ago for $420,000. Buyers were, let me see, Richard and Patricia Morrison, my parents' names, but it's titled to Vanessa Morrison Chen and Kyle Chen now. Looks like it was transferred through a family trust about 6 months after purchase, so my parents bought Vanessa's house. I said slowly, looks like it. I thanked her and hung up. Then I started piecing it together. Vanessa's wedding 4 years ago, the elaborate one with 200 guests at a vineyard. The one that must have cost at least $50,000. I remembered my mother mentioning they'd helped out a little. The brand new SUV Vanessa drove, a Lexus. $80,000. Kyle's business startup that failed 2 years ago. The one that made them a bit tight for a while. My parents hadn't just helped Vanessa. They'd bankrolled her entire adult life. And in the process, they'd destroyed their own financial future. And now they needed someone to blame. Enter Jessica, the oldest daughter, the independent one, the one who never asked for anything. If they could paint me as the ungrateful leech, then Vanessa, their golden child, their princess, could remain blameless. And maybe, just maybe, they could guilt me into paying back money I'd never actually taken. I sat back in my chair, coffee gone cold in my hands, and I smiled. Not a happy smile, a knowing one, because I realized something important. They'd made a massive miscalculation. They thought I would break. They thought I would come crawling back, apologizing, begging for forgiveness, offering to pay them money I didn't owe. But I wasn't going to do any of that. I was going to disappear. On Monday, I went to work like normal. I'd worked at Henderson and Associates Marketing for 8 years, worked my way up to senior account manager. My boss, Martin, was a good guy, 60 years old, ran the company with fairness and integrity. I knocked on his door around 10 a.m. Martin, you got a minute? Always. Come in, Jessica. What's up? I sat down across from his desk. I need to ask you for a favor. A big one. He leaned back, concerned. Everything okay? Family stuff, I said. Complicated. I need you to tell anyone who calls asking about me that I don't work here anymore. That I resigned 2 weeks ago and you have no forwarding information. His eyebrows shot up. Jessica, I'm not actually quitting, I said quickly. I love this job. I'm asking you to lie for me. Just to my family. No one else. He studied me for a long moment. They hurt you. It wasn't a question. Yes. He nodded slowly. Okay, as far as your family is concerned, you don't work here. You vanished. I'll let the front desk know. Sarah too. Sarah was our receptionist. Thank you. But Jessica, he said, his voice gentle, whatever you're doing, be careful. Revenge has a way of consuming people. This isn't revenge, I said. It's self-preservation. Next, I went home and changed my phone number. Got a new one, same carrier, different number entirely. I texted the new number only to my closest friends Rachel, my co-worker Maria, my college friend Beth, people I trusted, people who weren't connected to my family at all. Then I blocked every single family member on my old number before disconnecting it. My parents couldn't call me, Vanessa couldn't call me, none of them could reach me. I also logged down my social media, made everything private, changed my profile pictures to landscapes instead of photos of me, blocked every family member I could think of. Then I waited. I went about my life, went to work, went to the gym, met Rachel for coffee, watched Netflix, read books. I lived my normal, quiet, independent life. And I watched my old phone number, the one I'd kept active but silent, fill up with messages. It started on Tuesday. 2 days after the dinner. Vanessa 2. 14 p.m. Jessica, you need to call us. This is serious. Mom 3. 45 p.m. Jessica and Morrison, you answer this phone right now. By Wednesday. The messages were more frequent. Dad 6. 30 a.m. We need to talk. Call me. Vanessa 11. 22 a.m. You can't just disappear. That's so immature. Mom 4. 15 p.m. Jessica, please, call me back. Thursday brought the first hint of panic. Vanessa 7:03 a.m. Mom's really upset. You need to call. Dad 9:45 a.m. This isn't funny anymore, Jessica. Aunt Linda 2:30 p.m. Honey, please call your mother. She's beside herself. I didn't respond to any of them. Not a single word. By Friday, they were calling multiple times a day. My old phone sitting silent on my dresser would light up constantly. 20 calls in one day. 30 voicemails. I didn't listen to them. On Saturday, exactly 1 week after the dinner, I checked my old phone at 5 a.m. 50 messages from Dad. Starting at 5 a.m. exactly. Jessica, please. We need to talk. This is important. Call me back. Jessica. Your mother is in the hospital. That last one caught my attention. I scrolled through the messages. He'd send them rapid fire, one after another. Increasingly desperate. She collapsed yesterday. Stress. The doctors say her blood pressure is dangerously high. She keeps asking for you. Please, Jessica. She's your mother. I put the phone down, picked up my coffee, and took a sip. The messages didn't stop. If anything, they multiplied like a virus. By 7 a.m. Saturday morning, Vanessa had left 20 missed calls. 20. And voice messages that started to shift from angry to panic. Jessica. What the fuck? Where are you? You need to call us right now. This isn't a game. Mom's really sick. Do you even care? I finished my coffee, made myself breakfast to eggs, whole wheat toast, a sliced avocado. I ate slowly, methodically, reading the news on my tablet while my old phone buzzed itself into a frenzy on the counter. At 10 a.m., my mother sent her first message. Jessica, please, give us one chance. Just that. No explanation. No apology. Just a plea. I read it twice. Then I set the phone down and went for a run. Here's what you need to understand about disappearing. It's not about being gone. It's about being unreachable. It's about watching people who took you for granted suddenly realize you were never obligated to stay. I'd spent 32 years being the responsible one. The one who showed up. The one who helped when asked, who never complained, who quietly built her own life without burdening anyone. And in one night, they tried to destroy me. So I did the one thing they never expected. I let them sit with what they'd done. By Sunday morning, 8 days after the dinner, I had over 150 unread messages across my old phone. The voicemails were full. The texts were becoming incoherent. Dad, 6:23 a.m. Your mother's not eating. Please. Vanessa, 8:15 a.m. I know you're seeing these. You're such a selfish bitch. Aunt Linda, 10:03 a.m. Jessica. Whatever happened? Family is family. Please call Uncle Robert, 11:45 a.m. Your mom's crying non-stop. This is cruel. Cruel. The word sat bitter in my mind. 33 people had watched my mother call me a leech. Had watched her rip my photos off the wall and throw them in the trash. Had watched my father demand I pay back nearly $250,000. Had watched my sister physically shove me out the door. Not one of them had defended me. Not one had said, "Wait, this seems wrong." Not one had followed me out that door to check if I was okay. But now I was cruel. Now I was the bad guy. I laughed out loud in my empty apartment. It was a hollow sound. Monday morning, I walked into Martin's office with a proposition. I need to take some time off. Maybe a week. Personal leave. He looked at me with those knowing eyes. You doing okay? Getting there, I said. But I need some distance to figure things out. Take 2 weeks, he said. Paid. And Jessica? Whatever you're working through, I trust your judgment. You're one of the best people I know. I had to swallow hard against a sudden sting in my throat. Thank you. That afternoon, I drove across town to a law office. Small practice, good reputation. The attorney's name was Margaret Chen, no relation to Kyle. I checked a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and zero-nonsense energy. I sat in her office and told her everything. The dinner, the accusations, the financial situation I'd uncovered, the harassment. She listened without interrupting, taking notes in a precise hand. When I finished, she set down her pen and looked at me. Do you want to sue them? No, I said immediately. I want documentation. I want a record of everything they've sent me, everything they've done. And I want a cease and desist letter sent to every member of my family who's been contacting me. Her eyebrows raised slightly. That's a lot of letters. I'll pay for each one. She nodded slowly. And what's your end goal here, Jessica? I thought about that for a long moment. Peace, I said finally. I want peace. And I want them to understand that they can't treat people like garbage and expect those people to come running back. That's reasonable, Margaret said. I'll draft the letters. They'll go out by end of week. And Jessica? Document everything. Save every message, every voicemail. Print them out if you can. If this escalates, you'll want evidence. On Tuesday, 10 days after the dinner, Vanessa showed up at my apartment. I saw her from my window getting out of her Lexus, looking up at my building, checking her phone. She tried the call box. My name wasn't listed on it anymore. I'd asked the building manager to remove it. She stood there for 15 minutes, calling my old number over and over. I watched her from behind my curtain. Eventually, she gave up and left. She called 30 more times that day. The cease and desist letters went out on Friday. Margaret called me to confirm. 18 letters, delivered by certified mail. They'll start receiving them today and tomorrow. Thank you, Jessica. I should warn you, this might make things worse before they get better. People don't like being told they can't contact someone, especially family. I understand. She was right. Saturday, 2 weeks after the dinner, my old phone exploded. Vanessa, 10:23 a.m. A lawyer? Are you fucking serious? Dad, 10:45 a.m. What is this legal nonsense? We're your family. Mom, 11:03 a.m. How could you do this to us? After everything we're going through? Aunt Carol, 11:30 a.m. I got a letter saying I can't contact you. Jessica, this is insanity. Uncle Dennis, 12 15 p.m. Your mother's having a breakdown and you send legal threats. But here's the thing. After those angry messages, the calls slowed down because now there were consequences. Now there was a paper trail. Now they knew I was serious. And more importantly, they knew I wasn't coming back on my knees on Sunday. My doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. My father stood there, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Gray, tired, defeated. I didn't open the door. Jessica. He called through the wood. I know you're in there. Your car's here. Please, just talk to me. I stood on the other side, hand on the doorknob, not moving. Your mother's not well, he continued, his voice cracking. The stress. It's killing her. She can't sleep. Can't eat. She's on medication now. For anxiety. For blood pressure. The doctor says if she doesn't calm down, she could have a stroke. I closed my eyes. Please, Jessica. Please just open the door. 5 minutes he stood there, begging, pleading. I never made a sound. Eventually he left. That night, I did something I hadn't done in 2 weeks. I listened to one voicemail. Just one. My mother's voice, recorded 3 days after the dinner. Jessica, this is your mother. Her voice was stiff, formal. I don't know why you're not answering your phone. We need to discuss your financial obligations to this family. Your father has calculated everything we spent, and we expect reimbursement. If you're choosing to cut us off over money, then I suppose I raised you wrong. But you owe us at least a conversation. Call me back. I deleted it. No apology. No reflection. Just more demands. 3 weeks after the dinner, something shifted. The messages changed tone. Mom, Tuesday. To 15 p.m. Jessica, I've been thinking about what happened. Maybe we can talk? Dad, Wednesday. 9 o'clock a.m. I'd like to understand your side of things. Can we meet for coffee? Vanessa, Thursday. 7:30 p.m. Look, things got out of hand. Maybe we all overreacted. Maybe. Things got out of hand. Overreacted. Still no actual apology. Still no acknowledgement of what they'd actually done. Just vague gestures toward reconciliation. As if I should be grateful they were willing to consider forgiving me. I met with Margaret again on Friday. They're reaching out again. I told her. Different tone. More conciliatory, I guess. That's common, she said. The initial anger fades. Reality sets in. They start to realize what they've lost. What do I do? She leaned back in her chair. What do you want to do? I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to tell them exactly how much they hurt me. Part of me wants to just keep moving forward without them. Both are valid choices, Margaret said. But I'll tell you this. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them explanation. You don't owe them forgiveness. The only person you owe anything to is yourself. 4 weeks after the dinner, my friend Rachel invited me to her birthday party. Small thing, just drinks at a wine bar downtown. I almost didn't go. I'd been so isolated, so focused on protecting myself, that the thought of being around people felt exhausting. But I went, and something happened that surprised me. I had fun. I laughed. I talked about work, about books I'd been reading, about a new hiking trail I'd discovered. I didn't mention my family once. And for 3 hours, I felt light. Driving home that night, I realized something important. I wasn't broken. They'd tried to break me. Had tried to convince me I was worthless, ungrateful, a burden. But I wasn't any of those things. I was exactly who I'd always been. Independent, hardworking, kind. The only thing that had changed was that I'd finally seen them clearly. 5 weeks after the dinner, Vanessa showed up at my workplace. Sarah, our receptionist, called my extension, Jessica. There's a woman here who says she's your sister. I told her you don't work here anymore like Mr. Henderson instructed, but she's insisting. She's getting pretty upset. I could hear Vanessa's voice in the background, sharp and demanding. Tell her I'll be right down, I said. I took the elevator to the lobby. Through the glass doors, I could see Vanessa pacing, phone in hand, looking stressed in a way I'd never seen her look before. Her hair wasn't perfectly styled. Her makeup looked hastily applied. She was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Vanessa, who never left the house without looking like she'd stepped out of a catalog. I pushed through the doors. She spun around. Jessica, thank God. They told me you didn't work here and I thought. She stopped, studying my face. You do still work here? Yes. So you've been lying. You've been here this whole time, getting our messages and just ignoring us. Yes. The simplicity of my answer seemed to stun her. She'd probably expected defensiveness, excuses, emotion. Why? She asked, and for the first time, she sounded genuinely confused rather than angry. Because you threw me out of the family, I said calmly. You shoved me out the door while 33 people called me a leech and a burden, so I left. That's what you wanted. We didn't mean. She started. Don't. I cut her off. Don't you dare tell me you didn't mean it. You planned it, Vanessa. Mom invited all those people specifically to humiliate me. You stood up and gave a speech about how worthless I am. This wasn't an accident. Her face crumpled. Mom's really sick, Jessica. She's not the same. She barely leaves her room. Dad's a mess. Everything's falling apart. And that's my problem because your family. No, I said softly. You made it very clear I'm not. You can't destroy someone and then demand they fix you. What do you want from us? She asked, and she sounded desperate now. An apology? Money? What? I looked at my sister, this person I'd grown up with, shared a room with until I was 12, protected from bullies in middle school, helped with homework, celebrated birthdays with, and felt nothing but distant sadness. I don't want anything from you, I said. That's what you don't understand. I don't need you. I don't need mom and dad. I don't need the family. I've been fine on my own for years. The only reason I kept showing up was because I thought you loved me. But you don't. So now I'm just done. Jessica, please go home. Vanessa, take care of mom. Take care of dad. Take care of yourself. But leave me alone. I turned and walked back inside. She didn't follow. That night, I finally allowed myself to cry. Not loud, dramatic sobs. Just quiet tears sitting on my couch, holding a cup of tea. Letting myself grieve what I'd lost. Because here's the thing they don't tell you about cutting off toxic family. Even when you know it's right. Even when you know they hurt you. You still mourn. You mourn the family you thought you had. The family you deserved. The family that never actually existed. I mourned my mother who used to read me bedtime stories. I mourned my father who taught me to ride a bike. I mourned my sister who used to be my best friend before she became someone I didn't recognize. I mourned all of it, and then, when the tears stopped, I made a decision. I was going to build something better. 6 weeks after the dinner, I got a letter in the mail, not certified, not legal. Just a regular envelope with my mother's handwriting. I almost threw it away, but something made me open it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Jessica, I'm writing this because your father says I need to take responsibility for what happened. He says I've been in denial, blaming everyone else for our problems instead of looking at what I did. He's right. That dinner was my idea. I planned it. I invited everyone because I thought if you saw how the whole family felt, you'd understand how much you owe us, how much we sacrificed. But your father made me sit down and go through our finances with him, really look at them. And I had to face something I've been avoiding for years. We didn't go into debt because of you. We went into debt because of choices I made. Because I wanted Vanessa to have everything. The wedding, the house, the life I never had. And I used our retirement, our savings, everything to make that happen. And when it all fell apart, when the bills started piling up and I realized what I'd done, I needed someone to blame. And you were there. You were successful and independent and you didn't need us. And that made you an easy target. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. What I did to you was cruel and calculated and wrong. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what I did. And I'm sorry. Your father says you won't call us back, and I understand why. But if you ever want to talk, I'm here. Not to ask for anything, just to listen. Mommy read it 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. 7 weeks after the dinner, Vanessa sent me an email, my work email, which she must have guessed since I'd blocked everything else. Subject line: I understand now, Jessica. Kyle and I are getting divorced. I know that's not your problem. And I'm not telling you to get sympathy. I'm telling you because it's made me look at my life differently. Kyle told me last week that he's been unhappy for years. That I'm selfish. That I take and never give back. That I treat him like he exists to fund my lifestyle. And sitting there, listening to him say those things, I suddenly heard Mom's voice screaming at you, calling you a leech. And I realized, that's what I am. That's what I've always been. Mom and Dad bought us our house. Did you know that? Of course you did. You figured it out. You always were smarter than me. They paid for my wedding. They paid off Kyle's business debts. They've been paying our property taxes for 2 years because we couldn't afford them. And I let them. I let them destroy their retirement because I wanted the life I thought I deserved. And when it all came crashing down, we blamed you. Because it was easier than admitting what we'd done. You don't owe me forgiveness. You don't owe me anything. But I needed you to know that I see it now. I see what I did to you, and I'm ashamed. I'm so ashamed. Vanessa didn't respond, but I didn't delete it either. 2 months after the dinner, I went to therapy. Her name was Dr. Sarah Kim, and she specialized in family trauma. I told her everything. She listened without judgment. What you experienced is called scapegoating, she explained. In dysfunctional family systems, one person gets designated as the source of all problems. It allows everyone else to avoid accountability. So it was never about me. It was never about you, she confirmed. You could have been perfect, and it sounds like you tried to be, and they still would have found a way to make you the villain. Because they needed a villain to protect themselves from their own guilt. Does it get easier? I asked. Missing them? It gets different, she said. You learn to mourn what you lost while also protecting what you've built. That's not betrayal. That's survival. 3 months after the dinner, I ran into Uncle Robert at a grocery store. He saw me first. I watched his face go through several emotions: recognition, guilt, uncertainty. He could have walked away, pretended he didn't see me. Instead, he walked over. Jessica, he said, stopping a respectful distance away. Uncle Robert. He looked down at his cart, then back at me. I owe you an apology. A real one. What we did to you at that dinner was wrong. I knew it was wrong while it was happening. And I said nothing. I'm ashamed of that. I studied his face. He looked sincere. Thank you for saying that, I said quietly. Your mom's doing better, he offered. In case you were wondering, she's in therapy. So is your dad. They're trying to fix things. That's good. Are you okay? The question surprised me with its genuine concern. Yeah, I said, and realized I meant it. I actually am. He nodded slowly. Good, that's good. He hesitated. If you ever want to talk, my number's the same. No pressure, no expectations. Just, if you want to, I'll keep that in mind. We parted ways there in the produce section, and I felt something shift in my chest. Not forgiveness exactly, but maybe the beginning of understanding that not everyone who participated in my hurt was beyond redemption. 4 months after the dinner, I got promoted at work. Senior account manager to director of client relations. Big raise. My own office. More responsibility. Martin called me into his office to give me the news personally. You've earned this, he said. These past few months, even with everything you've been dealing with, your work has been exceptional. You're exactly the kind of person I want leading this company into the future. I thought about my parents' accusation, that I was a waste, that I'd given nothing back for their investment. And I smiled, because I'd built this, all of it, on my own. 6 months after the dinner, I received another letter, this time from my father. Jessica, your mother probably told you we're in therapy. She's right, we are. Both individual and couples counseling. My therapist asked me to write you a letter. Not to send, necessarily. Just to write. To put into words what I did and why. But I'm sending it anyway because you deserve to know. I failed you. For years, I watched your mother favor Vanessa. I watched her pour money and attention and energy into your sister while expecting you to be self-sufficient. And I said nothing. I told myself it was fine because you seemed fine, because you were capable and independent and didn't complain. But that was my job, to protect you, to make sure you were treated fairly. And I didn't do it. And then when our finances fell apart because of decisions your mother and I made together, I let her convince me it was your fault. I let her plan that dinner. I participated in it. I looked you in the eye and told you that you were a waste, that you owed us money, that you were a disappointment. None of that was true. You were the best daughter a father could ask for. You were responsible, kind, hardworking, independent. You never asked us for anything you didn't absolutely need. You made something of yourself without our help, and we punished you for it. I don't expect you to forgive me. I'm not sure I can forgive myself, but I need you to know. You were right to walk away. You were right to protect yourself. And I'm proud of you for being strong enough to do it. I'm proud of you. I should have said that more when you were growing up. I should have said it every day. I'm proud of you. Dottie sat on my couch, letter in my hands, and cried again. But these tears were different, cleaner somehow. 8 months after the dinner, I made a decision. I called Dr. Kim. I think I'm ready, I said, to talk to them. My parents. What changed? I'm not angry anymore, I realized. I'm sad, but I'm not angry. And I think maybe they've actually changed. Or started to anyway. What are your boundaries going to be? That was the important question. I'll meet them in public. Neutral territory. One time. I'll listen to what they have to say. But I'm not promising forgiveness. I'm not promising a relationship. I'm just promising one conversation. That sounds healthy, Dr. Kim said. And Jessica? You can leave at any time. You don't owe them your pain. I sent my mother an email. I'm willing to meet. Coffee. Public place. Just you and Dad. Next Saturday at 2 p.m. Come alone. Don't tell anyone else. This is not a family reunion. Jessica responded within an hour. We'll be there. Thank you. The cafe I chose was in a different part of town from where any of us lived. Neutral ground. I arrived 15 minutes early, got myself a latte, and sat at a table near the window where I could see them coming. They arrived exactly at 2 p.m. My mother looked smaller than I remembered, thinner, older. Her hair had more gray. My father walked beside her, his hand on her back, protective. They saw me through the window. My mother's hand went to her mouth. I watched them compose themselves before coming inside. They ordered drinks, sat down across from me. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Thank you for meeting us, my father said finally. His voice was rough. I'm not making any promises, I said. I'm here to listen. That's all. That's more than we deserve. My mother said softly, and then, slowly, haltingly, they talked. They told me about the therapy, about the hard truths they'd had to face, about the financial mess they'd made and how they were fixing it, selling things, downsizing, living within their means for the first time in years. They told me about Vanessa, who'd moved back home after her divorce, who was also in therapy, who was working 2 jobs now to stand on her own feet. They told me how the family had fractured after that dinner, how people had taken sides, how half of them weren't speaking to the other half. Aunt Linda doesn't talk to Aunt Carol anymore, my mother said. Robert apologized to us, said he was ashamed of himself. A few others did too, but some of them. She shook her head. Some of them still think we were right, that you owed us. Those people aren't in our lives anymore, my father added firmly. We've cut ties with anyone who refuses to see what we did wrong. I sipped my coffee, letting them talk. We can't undo what we did, my mother said, tears streaming down her face now. We can't take back those words or that night. But Jessica, I swear to you, if you give us a chance, we will spend the rest of our lives proving to you that we've changed. I looked at them. These people who'd raised me, who'd hurt me, who were trying, in their broken way, to be better. I'm not ready to be a family again, I said clearly. I might never be ready. What you did to me was unforgivable in a lot of ways. They both nodded, crying now. But, I continued, I'm willing to try slowly. Maybe coffee once a month. Maybe a phone call here and there. Baby steps. And if at any point I feel disrespected or hurt, I walk away again. Permanently. Yes. My mother said immediately. Yes, whatever you need. And I want you to understand something, I said, leaning forward. I don't need you. I've built a good life without you. I have friends, a career I love, a future I'm excited about. I'm whole on my own. If we rebuild something, it's because I choose to, not because I need to. My father reached across the table like he wanted to take my hand, then stopped himself. We understand, he said. And Jessica, you're right. You don't need us, but we need you. We need you to show us what strength looks like, what integrity looks like. Because you have both of those things, and we lost them somewhere along the way. We didn't hug when we parted that day, but we made plans for another coffee the next month. It's been a year now since that dinner. My relationship with my parents is cordial. We have coffee once a month. We text occasionally, but it's different. I'm different. I know my own worth now in a way I didn't before. Vanessa and I haven't spoken since that day at my office. Maybe someday. Maybe not. I'm okay with either outcome. I still see Dr. Kim every other week. I still have bad days where I remember that dinner and feel the shame wash over me. But mostly, I have good days. Great days, even. I got promoted again last month. Director to vice president. I'm 33 now, living in a nicer apartment, driving a newer car, planning a trip to Europe with Rachel in the spring. I'm happy. Not in spite of what happened, but because of what I chose to do about it. I chose myself, my peace, my dignity, and that choice saved me. Sometimes people ask me if I forgive them. My parents, Vanessa, the whole family who watched my destruction and said nothing. I tell them the truth. I don't know. Forgiveness is complicated. It's not a switch you flip. It's a process, ongoing, incomplete. But what I do know is this. I survived. I survived being unmade by the people who were supposed to love me most. I survived the silence, the isolation, the grief, and I came out the other side stronger, clearer, more myself than I'd ever been. They tried to make me small. Instead, I grew. And maybe that's not forgiveness, but it's something better. It's freedom. If this story touched you, if you've experienced something similar, if you understand what it means to walk away from people who should have protected you, know this. You're not alone. You're not ungrateful. You're not cruel. You're surviving. And that's the bravest thing you can do.